Now, South Africa is a water-scarce country and ranks as one of the 30 driest countries in the world, with an average rainfall of about 40% less than the annual world average rainfall. Despite the recent heavy rains, large parts of South Africa are still facing water shortages as a result of the extended crippling drought we've suffered. Now, from the Water Research Commission today, I'm joined by Wandile Nomquphu, who is a research manager, water resource assessment as well as planning. Very good morning to you, Wandile. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me here.
Just give me a quick overview. We know we live in a dry place. We know that we've had very little rainfall and we've got El Nino, and we should expect this. But you work for the Water Research Commission, and part of what you do is plan. Our plans that are in place in dealing with the water crisis we have, are you happy that they are adequate?
Well, if plans were adequate, we would be able to face the kind of crisis that we face without any hitches. Plans are always updated. They are always revisited in order to improve the situation. The fact of the matter about South Africa, as you said in your introduction, is a dry country, is a water-scarce country. And I'm not too sure if it is 30th driest, but it is a water-scarce country in the first place because we are receiving very little rainfall. And yet the development that is happening in South Africa is so much that the little water that we receive in the country, there is huge demand for it due to the growing population and due to the expansion of our economy. So as a result, we will continue to be really facing some sort of challenges with regard to the water resources of this country.
So the next decade is going to be difficult, and it's going to be crucial for the next 100 years, I would think. Are we thinking like that?
Obviously, as the Water Research Commission, our job is to fund research that looks into the future in the long term. And we have, over the last 40 years of our existence as the Water Research Commission, we have done research that looks at how much water we have as a country and where it occurs. And this is relating the rainfall that falls in the country to what flows in our rivers and what goes into our underground water resources. And we have a pretty good idea on how much we have. Now, with the growing population, we have some ideas of the requirements or the demands for this limited water resource. And we're putting in place, funding some research to look into the future on how we can, with this limited resource, we can do so much. We can optimize the use and the efficiency of the use of this water.
Now, are we likely to see an improvement in the short term? What are your projections, or what's your outlook at the Water Research Commission? What is it telling you? I'm simply talking the short term. Let's talk the next 3 to 6 months, if that qualifies.
Well, the projections in terms of rainfall, because we have been devastated by this drought for the last 2.5 years or so, and our dam levels have been very low. And now the weather forecasters and those that are doing the predictions are suggesting that we are likely around this time, summer, up to maybe autumn sometime, we are likely to have some relatively wet spells. But we can't make these estimates and be so 100% sure. Yeah. So it's a percentage estimate on how much we are likely to get in terms of the rainfall. So the estimates suggest that we are likely to get some rains. The projections were from November up to around January, February, we are likely to have some wet spells. However, we are not too sure the amount of rain that we will receive to fill up the already depleted dam levels, our stores. But there is some hope in terms of agricultural activity that will have some rain for us to do some agriculture.
Hope springs eternal, my brother. The outlook is a little bit bleak, though. We have to admit that. So the first thing I want to clear up with you is the agricultural sector for this planting season. It has improved now a little bit. We see the seeds in the ground, and there's good growth around the country, but they're battling, aren't they?
Of course, remember, over the last 2 years, they have been unable to plant or put crops on the ground because of the low rainfall that we received. Now, we have had some rains that came very late in the season, the planting season, but there still are rains that in parts of the country you can still put some crops on the ground. It's going to take a while for them to recover from from the 2 years of bad drought where they could not produce any crops. But the rainfalls that we received over the last couple of weeks are promising, and at least there's some change. But to recover from the effects and the impacts of drought, it's going to take a little while.
It's going to take a little while and a lot of rain, we know that. But I wanted to ask you quickly about alternative water sources, because we seem to be stuck in a very traditional kind of paradigm. The Commission's work, are you looking at alternative sources? Do we even have alternative sources that we can look at?
Of course we are. One of our jobs is, apart from the rainfall that we receive, that the stream flows and the water that goes into the underground, we're looking at alternative sources of supply. For instance, the reuse of water, the reuse of effluent, the grey water. We are looking at the technologies to try and purify that water to the usable, to the drinkable standards. The seawater that is surrounding most parts of our country, we have some research that has developed some technology around the desalination, cleaning the seawater to some drinking standards. But these things cost money. But in future,
they cost money. In the Middle East, it takes a liter of oil to desalinate a liter of water. So I think we have to find a way to make that economies of scale working.
That's one of our jobs. Our research is actually looking at that. How do we develop technologies that will not be, in terms of costs, will be so high that it will not be affordable to have these technologies to do this desal along our coastal towns. But yeah, we are always doing this research every now and then to look at the better technologies that will be more efficient in terms of our water use efficiency.
Wandile, thank you for coming in.